Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Rusty Nelson, and I am down here in the Villages, Florida. Yes, 55 and over retirement community, but importantly this time, I am in Central Florida, and I am doing a update on Hurricane Beryl. Now, I just want to introduce myself a little bit. I used to be a storm chasing guide in the Midwest. I used to chase tornadoes. I know, kind of nutty. And now that I'm retired and I'm out down here in Florida, I kind of keep the juices flowing. I decided to start doing updates on hurricanes and weather that affect Central Florida and this area. With that said, for the rest of the year, hopefully I will just be doing storms that actually will impact Central Florida or the Villages, and I'll try to keep you updated. So please make sure you subscribe. I'll put a little QR code up there, or you can just link to this down below by clicking the subscribe link. And I really appreciate all the likes. Kind of had fun doing this last year, but I'll also be going out live in my car and broadcasting from my car as long as I can get my new car hooked up to do that. So another reason to go ahead and subscribe. With that said, I'm going to get started. There's been a lot of talk about Hurricane Beryl. And that this storm has intensified really quick. It's down in the Caribbean, and I just wanted to touch on it really quick. It's not something I would normally cover, but I just kind of wanted to get things going for the season this year. It is kind of a historic hurricane storm, and I'll explain a little bit why. Also, towards the end of this, I did a video the other year on one of the hurricanes back then and kind of explained how that could impact us, and I thought it might be good. I'll tack that on to the end of this one, how it could impact us in Florida, even though it may not even be hitting us directly. And that would apply to a lot of the storms that would come through this area. So it may be worth watching and give you an idea that sometimes when a hurricane comes through an area, it is not just the main part of the hurricane that can affect you. And this explains what parts of the hurricane are dangerous and why it may be dangerous to us living in Florida. With that said, I just did a video a little while ago on surge protection for our homes. You may want to take a look at that. I'll put a link up there. And very soon, I just had a whole house surge protector put into my home, and I'll show you exactly what I got on that. And I think the company that did it came in and we videotaped it, and possibly you may get a discount with that one. I don't know. They called me and asked me whether I'd like to do that. I'm still trying to figure that out. Anyway, let's get to Beryl, and I'm going to make this really quick. Like I said, right after this, I'm going to tack on a video that I had done well over a year ago, I guess, and that will help to explain kind of hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that in Florida. So let's get started on Hurricane Beryl. If you had watched an earlier video I did on hurricanes to kind of start off the season, I did it because this year is supposed to be a really busy season, and NOAA has forecast this to be much busier than most. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that those storms are going to hit us or hit the coast, but as you'll see in a second, this season is starting off really early with Beryl. So let's take a look at a couple of these shots really quick. This is a typical type of, these are where storms originated from 1851 to 2015, and they're logged in. If you look down here, just off the coast of Africa, out in the Atlantic, you'll see a small dot, and I believe that was 1933. Now, these are from June 21st to June 30th. If we kind of flip over to this slide, this is August 21 to 31st. And as you can see, it's almost like a train of hurricanes or storms that have originated off the coast of Africa. And this is the normal area where they do. The thing is if we go back to the one in June, you can see that it's very rare that storms have actually originated that early in the season. Here we go. This is Beryl. This is a nice shot from out in space of Beryl this morning, and this is Sunday morning, taking a look at it, and I guess we can get me off of here. We don't need me there. But as you can see, the arms of this storm reach out really far, and that's what's important because I go through that in the video that you'll see if you want to watch it after this is kind of demonstrating about what this can do and how it can have an effect here in Florida. Let's take a look at a IR shot. And I'm going to stop this right up towards the end here so you can take a look at this. This is Florida up in the left-hand corner up here, and this is us naturally right dead center in the middle. But look how far out from the center of the storm right here this reaches. It's pretty incredible. If you move that up to this area up here, that distance is going to affect us all the way up here in Central Florida. This is kind of shows the timing of Beryl. And if you look like this powder blue area right here, this is the first 3 days or so, and this shows out different warnings. And this is actually out, almost starts getting into, when you get up into this area, is a week away. And it's really kind of hard to, this is the 4 and 5 day out here, it's really kind of hard to forecast anything out there. And that's why this is the cone, and a lot of people call this the cone of confusion. Because a lot of people think that this is where the hurricane is going to affect them. This is not. This is where the hurricane, the center of the eye, could wobble back and forth between here. Now, if you go back to that other IR shot that we had, if it wobbled all the way out to this end, those arms would be reaching us all the way up here in Florida, and that's what I talk about in that video that's coming on next that I tacked onto the back. Here's another shot, and this is really interesting because this shows sea temperatures. Remember, we talked a little bit earlier about how the storms come off of Africa and how early it is for Beryl down here to actually be coming off of Africa and not originating down in the Gulf down here. This shows the intensity. Right now, Beryl is a Category 3, and I put those up later, put the different categories and what they mean, but it's going to intensify up to a Category 4, and they are forecasting it over the next 5 days to drop down to a Category 2. What is interesting right back here is an area of interest that is 96L that's looking to develop later on. And as you can see, it has a 70% chance of development. Now, I try to keep these things simple. This is not supposed to be technical. We're just kind of going through things and visiting things here and there. If we take a look at, and get me back off of here again, if we take a look at this right here, this is an ensemble for people not sure what that is. This is putting together all of the forecasts, and you're going to see as this goes along, and this actually goes out to 192 hours, so that's actually 8 days away. And as you can see, the different forecasts tend to move all over the place. One of these is derived from Europe, the other one is the US, and the other one is UK. But if we move all the way out here to 192 hours, you can see that some of them bring some of these models, the outliers, start bringing these forecasts all the way up into Virginia and stuff like that. So what they do is they take into account different atmospheric conditions that could happen that would allow this to take effect. The darker lines that are on here are the mean for those particular forecasts. Here's the thing. The reason that you see these storms staying down in this area is right up in the Atlantic, there is a high up there. Now, if that high moves out, then that's going to allow this the storm to be kind of pulled up in here, and kind of there's a front up here too, which could move down into this area that could also help to pull it up into that area. That's about all I'm going to get into with Beryl, because really not a storm that's going to affect Florida, or it shouldn't at this point in time. Obviously, if it is, I will come out and put another update to it. But on to the end of this, Idalia. I did a kind of an extensive thing about how Florida can be affected by hurricanes. So if you're kind of new to Florida and you're wondering about this whole hurricane thing and how it works, you may want to hang around and watch this. But remember, I'm going to tack that on to right after this. If for some reason there is an update to this storm, I will get back on and do an update to it. Also, when there are bigger storms, I'll grab my car, as you'll hear in the video that's attached to the back end of this. I'll go out and, if warranted, go out and kind of do live broadcasts, and they will come up live, not recorded. So you have to be subscribed. So wherever that little subscription thing is, go ahead and punch that, and you'll get notified. Anyway, thanks a lot for joining me. I wouldn't worry too much about this storm, at least at this point in time. And I hope to see you out here in the villages, or if not, I'll see you back here on YouTube. Thanks a lot for subscribing. Don't forget about the other videos and the surge protector things. You may want to kind of look into those. And the new surge protector video where we install it should be coming out maybe next week or so. Anyway, thanks a lot for joining me. Stay tuned for that add-on from Idalia, and you have yourself a wonderful day. Let's talk about a few things really quick about hurricanes. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to make this technical. I'm just going to explain to you, give you some backstory, and this will help to understand why I'm telling you the things that I'm about ready to tell you. I know this is going to be a little crude, and it is, but I'm going to do this on Photoshop, but it just makes it easy so I can go through this. And we're going to take a look at a basic hurricane. Just so happens this is our hurricane today, and this is about midday or so. But I'll just move this arrow around so you can see what I'm talking about. But in a hurricane, this is the eye, and that's a definite formation for a hurricane. And off of the hurricane come these big, long rain bands that come out, and they can stretch for hundreds of miles, easy. Now, usually a hurricane is pretty symmetrical, but since the beginning of this hurricane, there's been some forces pushing pressure against the west side of this. So it's kind of looks a little lopsided. Usually you'll see these rain bands start coming out this way. You can see them starting to form out here. But let's do this. And what we're going to do is try to explain why the Villages is not out of trouble just because the basic cone, as I call it, the cone of confusion, is pointing this hurricane to come up to about this area, then start turning right and push out this way. And that's because there's different atmospheric pressures up in this area that are kind of steering it out to the northeast. Now, before all my meteorological friends out there start going crazy, I'm trying to make this extremely simple, so don't send me a bunch of emails telling me I don't know what the heck I'm talking about and that type of thing. We're just keeping this really basic. Now, I'm going to grab a pencil. And what we're going to do so that we can kind of explain why, like I said, the Villages is not out of it yet, just because it's up north. We're going to divide this up into quadrants, and we're going to make 4 quadrants right here. And we're going to assume for the time being, but actually the way this is, that this hurricane is moving in a northerly direction at this point in time. And let's just, for sake of it, say it is moving, I don't think it is, but let's say it's moving at 20 miles an hour. And in comes the weather plane, and it flies through there. And that weather plane says that there are winds in this hurricane of 100 miles an hour. So it's kind of cooking along, getting up into that Cat 2 kind of thing, and it's moving along pretty good at 100 miles an hour. Here's the thing. This whole area up in here, they call the dirty side of the hurricane. And why is that? Well, there's a lot of instability up there. Plus that, if you are moving winds inside the hurricane at 100 miles an hour, and they're generally going this way, you can see they're kind of going around and spinning around like that. That means you have to add, as this thing's moving north, 20 miles an hour to this 100. So in reality, it's going 120 miles an hour on this side. And if it's moving in this direction, you're kind of subtracting 20. So it's really only moving 80 miles an hour. So you have a 40 mile an hour difference between the two sides. So this is considered the dirty side over here, so to speak. And you may hear it referred to that. But it's still, I'm not saying that it doesn't get more intense and faster winds as you move towards the center, but if you think about it, you're going to have accelerated winds over on this side. Now, if you look at these rain bands right through here and right through here, you're going to see little puffy things in there, like especially right here. We're going to talk about this for a second. Those are actual thunderstorms. And that's actually, I believe that's right around Marco Island, maybe, I think. And there is actually a tornado warning right there. So why do we start getting tornado warnings? The reason is because as that air mass moves over the ocean, it's really smooth, right? And it just kind of, I'm making this real basic. It just kind of scoots across because there's no friction or anything. Once it hits land, there's friction. So if you have winds that are moving along at 100 miles an hour and they're scooting across the ocean and all of a sudden they hit the land, it creates friction. And when you get that friction, it tends to slow that air down. To create tornadoes, you need some ingredients. And one of those is shear, wind shear. So you can create wind shear as you go upwards towards the sky in altitude. You can get so that it changes directions as you go up. And you can see how that would kind of create a spinning motion. Or you can do what is happening here as that column of that air is moving across at 100 miles an hour. And all of a sudden on the bottom, you drag it. It starts moving slower. That creates shear also. So that's one of the reasons why in these rain bands, let's go back to this. Right here where you see those thunderstorms, right? And you can see where they are. You start to get these tornado warnings. Most of the tornado warnings happen up in this area. And that's where we have accelerated winds, we have instability, and we start getting that shear. Well, if we take a look at this, since this is Idalia, right? Right in this area, right here, is the villages. Now look at these rain bands as they're going north like this. They're heading right towards the villages. And this is why I say we're not out of it yet. Now, if you think about it, as this hurricane goes north, right, it's going to shift directions right here. And it's going to start heading this way, right? And if the villages is right here, look at what quadrant it's in. We end up hitting that area where tornadoes are greater, you have a greater chance, and you have those rain bands. Even though the eye is somewhere up in this area. I think that kind of explains that. Now we're going to take a look at another chart or graphic that I have. And it kind of will start to explain exactly how this is going to go over and affect us in the villages. Just to give you an idea, this is actually a current radar image. And in this image is superimposed these little green, red, and speckles you see in there are lightning flashes. And you can see where, just where we talked about, up in that right-hand quadrant, right up in here, if you can see it, is that dirty area and where you're going to see a lot of instability. And along with that, we're going to see can actually come tornadoes. Now, if you look at this right now, it goes right up into the area of where the villages is. First off, sorry about the advertisements, but like I said, we're just doing this kind of crude. And this is from pivotalweather.com in case you want to go there and go play around on there. But this is fairly current. I can scrub through this. And as you can see, this is basically a forecast of where the hurricane's going to go. As I progress through this, you can see these rain bands start to come up and approach the villages. In fact, this is the villages right here. If you go from this little blob of land right here to this little blob of land right there, right in the middle is the villages. And you're going to see those rain bands pass right over. Now, what I can do with this, and we'll see whether we can do with this, is, like I said, so these are thunderstorms. This hasn't, the hurricane has not even come close yet to the coast, but I can actually go in, and if I go right here and I click over top of it, it gives me a look at what is supposedly going to happen from the surface up to the up to altitude. And I can actually kind of take a look at it, and that's how we forecast a lot of the things that are going to happen. This is the ratings for tornadoes. And if you take a look at this, the ratings are 0 to 5. And that's different for hurricanes. These are the ratings for hurricanes. Now, the winds are kind of close to the same, but here's the big difference. For a hurricane, if you hear it's a Category 2 hurricane, that means that it's projected that you're going to have winds that are conducive to a Category 2 hurricane. Now, they're saying that this is going to be about a Category 2 hurricane, and I'll read this. Extremely dangerous winds will cause extensive damage. Well-constructed frame homes could sustain major roof and siding damage. Many shallow-rooted trees will be snapped, uprooted, and we're going to talk about this in a second because it could affect you. Near total power loss is expected with outages. Now, here's the thing. For a tornado, a rating doesn't come until after the tornado has passed through because it's graded on how much damage was done. So that's basically the rating system. Now, let's just go back to this and take a look at it. I'm going to get me off of here. We're just going to go to the screen and look at this. As this hurricane passes through, knowing that we are right here, right between these two areas, watch what happens when we get close to the eye of the hurricane, coming close to the coast. I'm going to leave it right. So we're going to leave it right there. All right. This is the villages right here. There's a big, long band of thunderstorms right here, right in this area. Now, remember we said that I can actually click on this and I can get an idea of what is happening in the atmosphere. We click on this, right? Let's just say anywhere in here. We get this gobbledygook of information. You go, Rusty, I don't understand what in the world any of this stuff is. But this is something that we use when we're chasing tornadoes out in the Midwest to forecast stuff. One area is right down here in the right-hand side, just lower middle right here.
It says probable hazard type, tornado. And this is our storm right now. And this is what is forecasted for that area. So remember I said, as it comes across, it crosses land. And we're right in there, somewhere in there again. Let's try a different one. And still comes up tornado. Now, this is if you look down here, is an EF1 or an EF2. So what in the world does this mean to you? Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is as this storm approaches us, you're going to see the eye of the storm go north of us. And as it goes in towards land, that top right quadrant, the dirty side, the side where you're going to see tornadic activity, is going to be passing or should be passing. You never know because these things wobble back and forth and atmospheric conditions change, is going to wobble and kind of move right around us. Need I say more? Now, chances are slim, they are weak, and they're very quick. But you're going to see, I can imagine, probably along these rain bands, you're going to see warnings for tornadoes. And that doesn't mean there's one out there. That just means the conditions are right. And it's probably going to be very quick because these storms are going to move through really quick. So what does this mean to all of us? Well, the villages, I'll call it the villages, the people closer to the God than we are, have already started to prepare for this. And if you take a look at this video, you'll get to see the pond that's back behind my house. You can see if you look on there, yesterday morning, this was pretty much full. Now they've really emptied a lot of it. Over on the golf courses, they've emptied a lot. The sprinklers were all fired up last night and going. So they're draining off a lot of this water. And if you looked at one of my shorts I said how the golf courses and everything are designed to take on water. Also, in neighborhoods, the streets, these ponds and everything else are designed to be lower than the homes. So they actually take off. Intersections, they take off and take on a lot of the water. So that's one thing. The other thing that is done, you'll notice, and this is for people that haven't lived here, because I know a lot of people are just moving in, especially down in Newell and stuff. The gates are gone. And you may be wondering why those gates are gone, the arms coming down, because they can become projectiles. They can get taken right off of there. And that thing flying around is not something you want to contend with. So let's just talk about really quick, what are some of the things that you can do? So now we know that just because the eye of the hurricane is passing north of us doesn't mean we're out of it. We're kind of in the tornado zone and they're going to pop in and out. I'm guessing most likely we're going to see at least or hear of one. Unfortunately, this is coming through at night, a lot of this, so we may not see or hear a lot of this. Don't go crazy, or just live your life and just do some of the things that you've heard on the news to go do. But some things to think about are, I'm going to put it this way because it's my pet peeve, is you people that got these tchotchkes and birds and everything else in your yard, just think about it. If they're going out and taking all the arms off of these gates because they're afraid they're going to get torn off of there, those things that are in your yard, stuck in the ground, they can become projectiles too. Let's take a look at this again really quick, what the winds are. I'll bring this up. Let's go to the screen. And you can see the Cat 2, which this is supposed to come through at, is 96 to 110 miles an hour. If that comes to fruition, which I don't think it will, I'm guessing, I'll say it again, I'm guessing maybe we're going to be in for 60 mile an hour maybe. But when these thunderstorms pass through and these bands pass through, it's going to get pretty wild. So there are some things that you can do. And one of those things, I'm kind of moving things around over here. hang on a second. I'll get with you. One of those things that you can do is you can remove those lawn ornaments and remove any loose furniture. Remember, these glass top tables, you can pick them up with one hand. Even if they're in your lanai, they can possibly get blown away. I've seen people that actually take them and turn some of their tables over so there's no way the wind can get up underneath them. Me personally, I put my chairs and everything right inside my lanai door, and my table gets overturned on the back. Remember to charge all your batteries, your phone, and stuff like that. And if you don't have gas in your house, you may want to get your propane filled. Probably a little late for that now, but I did yesterday, got propane filled for my gas grill, because if the electricity goes out, you're going to lose the ability to use those electric ranges. Don't park your cars under trees. And the reason I say that is these palm fronds are going to take off. You can lose some trees, especially if you get one of these rain bands that just comes right through and goes all the way over the villages in your area. Those trees are going to, especially the new ones, are going to get loose, and they're going to come over. Unplug things that are in your house, electronics that you are not going to use. Like my washer and dryers are already unplugged. Those are fully electronic. My microwave is unplugged. Stuff like that. My one garage door opener is unplugged, so at least I have one that works. Things like that. Also, if you have the ability to put your car inside, put it inside. It is possible that we're going to have hail damage. And there's a bunch of other stuff, but that's about it. It's usually we're pretty safe on the interior. But like I said, you get one of those little tornadoes that spins up, they can mess up your day, can tear holes in your roof and everything else. So anyway, that's about it. Now, I don't think I really have that much. You can watch the Weather Channel. You can keep track of it. Try to remember that they're meteorologists. They wait for this stuff to happen. So sometimes they can get a little hyped up about stuff. I don't want to underestimate this, but just be wary, because a lot of the stuff they're talking about is on the coast. And because it's on the coast, the surge is what's really going to be a problem with this. For us out here, it's going to be some wind damage, lightning damage, and a possible tornadic activity. And that's about it. With that said, I am going to have my car geared up to ready to go out. I probably will have it set up so that I can live broadcast out of the car. Sometimes that gets fouled up depending on the communications, and I can't do it. But if I don't, I will literally be out there, and I may be out all night. Who knows? But I will try to broadcast live, so make sure that you are subscribed. I'm not really that good at it, so don't get mad. And don't get mad if I can't answer you, because I'm trying to get cameras going and keep myself safe. Anyway, if anything major changes between now and later tonight, maybe I'll put out another one, but I wouldn't get real wrapped around the axle with this one. Just kind of keep your head in the game a little bit. And if you feel you need to take cover, try to take cover inside of a room that is solid. I mean, in other words, not giant windows or where things can come through the window. I don't think we're going to be there, but just make sure you know where to go. If you're next door neighbor and you feel really bad, and your next door neighbor, if you have a stick house and they have a concrete house, you may want to go over there. Do not open up your garage doors when that wind is really, really, really howling just for the heck of it, because that's one of the causes for most people to lose a roof, because what happens is you get air pressure under there and that pushes up, and you'll even see sometimes the little hatch door comes open, vibrates around and stuff like that. But most of these newer homes down here, I don't know all the way but north, you'll see big steel bars that run all the way across the back of the garage. Those are actually to increase the strength of the garage. These are stressed for that. And all these homes that were built down here, at least down south, I know, were all built to code for Florida. So they just weren't haphazardly put together. Whether it is cinder block, the new concrete, or the stick ones, they do have to meet a certain code. Anyway, I will try to get back on here if I can. Actually, I'm going out with friends to have some dinner tonight, relax, and play some card games. But anyway, I wish you the best of luck. Like I said, just kind of keep your head about you, keep your cars out from under trees, and unplug things that you don't want to do. Charge your batteries up. Don't forget you got a battery in your car. You got a battery in your golf cart that you can charge off of if your phone goes dead and for some reason we lose electricity. For those of you that haven't lived down here, I know I'm rambling on here, but stuff keeps coming to my mind, that haven't lived down here. The electrical compared to where I was in Philadelphia, you used to go out when somebody would sneeze. But most of our power grid and stuff like that is underground, so they're really good about fixing that stuff pretty quick. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening. I wish you the best of luck. Go ahead and write down in the comments and stuff like that. I'll go back and take a look at them, especially if you see any damage out there during this. Send me a note in the comments or just write a comment, and I will be looking at that pretty much all night. Anyway, have a great time. I will report in tomorrow, if not live tonight, and wish you the best of luck. Have a good night. And don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when I go live. Does that rhyme? I don't know.